I turned, and there was a black figure just behind me. It threw me into the river. When I came out of the river, I realized my hair had been pulled out.
She was found by her brother.
The yaks had been killed. When wolves or snow leopards attack cattle, they make a lot of wounds. But these had only teeth marks, yet all the flesh had been eaten from inside. I found a Yeti footprint in the sand. It was narrow at the heel, and the toes were long and spread out.
It's a powerful story, but it's far too late to provide tangible biological evidence. But for the Yeti to exist now, it must have a history. Before I'd left Kathmandu, I met George Schaller, a brilliant field naturalist who knows the Himalayas well, and he had a view on the history of the Yeti.
There's no question that during the Pleistocene, based on fossils found in China and Vietnam and so forth, a gigantic ape lived in the region. Nobody's sure exactly what it lived on, but most likely lived on a combination of meat and vegetable matter.
This is Gigantopithecus. It might have lived alongside humans. So, in a storytelling culture that stretches so far back, maybe the Yeti legends are based on fact. But what about now? Could a whole population of these apes remain hidden? Well, George has spent years here, tracking one of the most elusive animals on Earth, the snow leopard.
The snow leopard lives in the high mountains where it can see a person approaching miles away. And it can crouch down and you can walk within a few feet of it and never see it. Or it moves off quietly like a cloud shadow, like a wisp of smoke.
Even local naturalists only glimpse these animals once every couple of years. So could it be that the Yeti is just as shy?
I think the chances are extremely small that another great ape is likely to be found. On the other hand, it's very difficult to prove something doesn't exist. I think there's still a faint chance that something might exist, something unexplained obviously is still there.
If anything is here, it's got to be in the forest, because that's the only place it could remain hidden, and more importantly, the only place it could find any food. In summer, this forest is quite a pleasant environment, given the limited diversity of plants. But a primate needs a constant food supply, so the key test is the winter. Now, everything edible has shriveled and died, and the few species of animal that do live here have either moved lower down or hibernated. In effect, this larder is empty. If a hidden population of hominid-type animals has evolved to live here, then it's living in some of the harshest conditions that any primate possibly could. But okay, if the Yeti has overcome these obstacles of physiology, metabolism, and ecology, what's the evidence for its existence? Strangely, the documented evidence comes from up here, above the tree line, in the form of footprints. A number of explorers this century, including Don Willans, have discovered tracks. They often appear two-footed, but to save energy, when they walk through snow, four-footed animals, like bears, will plant their hind feet in the prints of their forefeet. And that leaves a track like an upright ape's, a track like mine. But there's another very serious problem. The incredible shortage of oxygen up here often makes it difficult for unaccustomed Westerners to make reasoned conclusions about anything they see. Probably the most famous set of footprints of all were those taken by Shipton, published in 1951. Just look at these footprints. They're pretty convincing. What's really neat about them is that they led in a trail which went for over a mile. Now, the thing is, Shipton never admitted it, but it was widely thought to be a hoax. It's the monastery here at Kumjung, which houses the only remaining Yeti artifact in the whole region. And it's one of the Sherpa religion's most revered relics, and it's meant to be a Yeti scalp. Thank you. So, did this really come from a real animal, from a real Yeti?
Yes, it is Yeti. Totally different from a human skull.
To me, it looks like a very poor fake. It's got an obvious seam, and more importantly, the hair is growing up towards the crown, and that just isn't natural. And in the 60s, the most famous of all Himalayan mountaineers, Sir Edmund Hillary, took this scalp back to the West for testing. The verdict, Serau, a Himalayan goat antelope. But they just checked the hairs under a microscope. Now we have infallible DNA testing. So I needed to meet with Tenzing, head of the village committee. I'd like to take just one hair from this Yeti scalp to test using the latest scientific techniques, which would determine once and for all, with no doubt, whether this comes from a known species of animal or a species which is yet unknown to science. So can I have just one hair, just one?
Sorry. Because I don't care whether the Western people are saying buffalo skin or whatever skin. But this is, we do believe this Yeti scalp, and so let them say whatever it is.
I respect your passion. I'll leave you with all of your hairs.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.